In this video, I will demonstrate plaiting on the Passap using the plaiting yarn feeder system similar to the Mercer. This system has two parts, a duo yarn feeder and the geared block. This system can be 3D printed from a design by Sue Perth that is available from Thingiverse for free. I added the link in the description below. So, one of my friends printed it for me, and of course, I surprised Engelbert Goo with this new toy. Engelbert is my Passap E6000. E is for Engelbert's initial, and if you look cross-eyed at 6000, it becomes Goo. Hence, his name is all over this knitting machine. Anyway, it's a fun device with lots of potential. I marked one hole on the top of the yarn feeder with black and the other with blue. It doesn't matter which is which to start. Put the block on top of the back lock with the teeth facing forward. Don't attach it quite yet. Place the feeder in the jaws of the lock and push the lock back and forth to locate where on the block the yarn feeder turns around. Now, center the block and attach with double-sided tape, making sure to align it so the teeth face forward and lace with the sprocket edge of the yarn feeder. I sort of centered mine since I was trying to figure out how this thing worked, but being not quite centered works too. The important thing is to mark the block. Once it is attached, push the lock back and forth again to determine the turning points. I marked the right end blue and the other one black. It really doesn't matter which end is which to begin with, but it is important to use the same colors you use to mark the holes on the top of the yarn feeder. After doing many swatches, I studied what was happening and marked the top of my duo yarn feeder with additional marks. Here's what I did. Move the yarn locks to the right. This moves the yarn feeder to the rightmost dot on the block. Now twist the yarn feeder so both blue dots are next to each other. On the top of the sprocket, make a blue dash midway between the blue dot at the top and the black dot at the bottom. Then, with the black marker, make a dash on the opposite side midway between the black dot on the bottom and the blue dot on the top. Now let's thread up. After experimentation, I found the easiest way to thread the duo yarn feeder is with fishing line. I happen to have 4-pound line around the house, so that's what I used. Mine is clear since it is used for mobiles and other hangy things. Cut a piece about 12 to 14 inches long. Use an overhand knot to tie the ends together. That creates a loop on the other end. Now you are ready. Select two colors. For this demonstration, I used one strand of 224 of each color. However, you could choose different yarn and even different weights of yarn. Thread each yarn through its own mast and as usual all the way until you get to the duo yarn feeder. Pull down to take all the tension off the yarn ends. This prevents it from springing up during the eyelet threading process. Take the fishing line loop, pinch the loop end, and thread it through the hole at the bottom just under the blue dash up to the sprocket end. A loop will emerge on the sprocket end. Thread the dominant yarn through this loop and pull the knotted end of the fishing line down so the yarn pops out the bottom of the eyelet. Pull a good length through the hole. Repeat this to thread the plaiting yarn through the second hole. Put the yarn feeder into the jaws of the locks. Before you pull up the tension, do this little trick. Tie the two ends of the yarn together. This prevents the ends from popping out. Then tuck the ends between the beds in preparation to begin plaiting. My first attempt at plaiting was not all that good. I kept getting edge loops even though I kept tightening my tension nearly to an extreme. I realized that there were burrs inside the duo yarn feeder. This meant no matter how much tension I put on the yarn, it was not sliding back up through the yarn feeder, causing the loops. So, I took my trusty chainsaw file and smoothed the inside as much as possible. This handled most of the edge loop issues. However, it could not reach all the way through the tiny holes at the bottom nor smooth the last half inch. I tried to smooth those with the orange Passap pick, but what I found is that the inside is smoothed by the yarn and its use. In other words, the more you plait, the smoother the inside gets. In the meantime, you need to pull up on the yarn when the lock changes direction. This is actually in an opposite mode. So when this is at the right, it should be blue on blue. And because I threaded the red into this little slot where I put the little line, the blue line, it will become the dominant color on the knit stitches. The other one will become the dominant color on the purl stitches. Well, it'll be the submissive color. We have dominant and submissive. There may be more going on down in that yarn feeder than I suspected. Whatever color is going in the direction of the locks will be the dominant color. And I know I threaded the red in the blue. And it would be over here again too. So you can control exactly what you're going to get by looking at these. And so I added these two little dashes just so I know which one is going where. So if I reverse it so that it's black on that, my dominant color is still going to be pointing this direction. And that once I change direction, it's going to be the pink because I threaded the pink there. Now I'm going to do a racking cast on. I'm going to rack over. I threaded my yarn up. I know that my red is in the blue slot, so that will be my dominant color. So you don't want to have your strippers in. I'm set to my tension, but I'm pulling downward on it right by my knitting, because if it's hanging up there, only one of the threads will get picked up when you're plaiting. How do I know that? And you also have to put it in knit. See how all these got knit on this edge? They didn't on my original swatches because it was anchored, but I wasn't holding down on the yarn. So I'm going to put my cast on comb in, then rack back. Pull down on the cast on comb, but take up the slack on that end. There we go. Now, I think I need to have my strippers put in now. Going down yet? And there we go. We're off and running. Okay, so I've redivided my stitches and I'm going to change my strippers to black. When I go this way, I will have opposite colors. Now, the dominant color in this case is pink. So the pink will appear on the knit stitches because we were still in the pink with the knit stitches here. So, but these will become purl stitches. And that'll be red, I think. There we go. So, once again, I'm getting that funny little stuff in there. Now what I'm doing is I'm just pulling up the tension on my yarn to take up that slack on the edges. Otherwise, I have not been able to get past it, but let me see. Yeah. I'm getting a little bit of it. It's on that side yet. So there's a burr yet. So now that I've gone enough stitches on that one, I'm going to reverse it back by taking this, turning it around, and putting it back in. Now, I'm going to match blue to blue, and that will be the lead. So my lead is now red. I'm going to pull that up. So on the inside of the stitches, you're going to see more pink. So now we have our dominant colors straightened out. Now I don't know why I had a couple little flaws here, but it happened. So, but generally speaking, it works very, very well. Predominantly red on the front and pink on the back on the purl stitches. Then when I reversed it, it became predominantly pink on the front and red on the back. So you can do it even in stockinette stitch. Amazing what this little tool will do. Thank you for watching this video. Please let me know in the comments if you would like to see more videos like this or you have a special question or request. And lastly, please take a moment to subscribe and ring the bell to receive notifications of upcoming videos and events. Happy machine knitting!